Hello, Dr. Baker and SDSU students. We are Team L, and this is our research project for Marketing 470.
I'm Brielle Eaton.
I'm Mia Green.
I'm Michael McLeod.
And I'm Kelly Furr. So we're just going to dive right into our project overview. For our marketing research project, we decided to research self-perceptions of environmental consciousness of people who live in places with and without a consumer-level plastic ban in effect. In this presentation, we will discuss the background and motivations for this project, an explanation of our research design, our key findings, limitations of the study, and our recommendations for the future.
The motivation for researching this topic stems from the global plastic crisis and efforts from governments and corporate companies to reduce plastic consumption and plastic waste. In 2007, San Francisco became the first city in America to ban single-use plastic bags, and in 2016, California became the first U.S. state to implement the ban. Since then, we've seen a trend of plastic commodities being banned throughout the U.S. in recent years, yet not much is known on consumers' perceptions and attitudes within the U.S. in regards to these mandates. As you can see, we're not the only ones interested in this topic. Our research question was, how do consumer-level plastic bans in the United States affect how consumers perceive themselves as environmentally conscious? And how do these self-perceptions vary between places with consumer-level plastic bans and places without consumer-level plastic bans? We hypothesized that residents of a city or state that implements the consumer-level plastic ban would perceive themselves and their actions to be more environmentally conscious. For our research design, we created a Qualtrics survey and distributed it via Facebook, email, and Snapchat. The survey was active for a full 2 weeks and was composed of 15 questions in total. We obtained a sample size of 265 respondents, but narrowed it down to 218 due to cognitive mistakes and completion errors. We only asked 2 demographic questions, and both of them were in regards to their current place of residence. The respondents were sent down one of 3 paths within the survey that was dependent upon if they answered yes, no, or I don't know to our question that asked if the city or state that they live in has implemented a consumer-level ban. Based on their answer, their individual path revealed additional questions that was specific to their genre. Finally, we used convenient sampling to obtain our sample size for this project.
Now we are going to take a look at some of the key findings derived from our data. This chart shows that over 90% of respondents who do not live in a location or are unsure if the location they live in has a consumer-level plastic ban in effect make some level of effort to limit their plastic consumption, while only about 85% of those who live in a location with the consumer-level plastic ban in place make some level of effort to limit their plastic consumption. Additionally, respondents who reported unsure or do not live in a location with a consumer-level plastic ban in place showed a smaller percentage of those who selected no when asked if they made an effort to limit their plastic consumption than those that did live in a location with a consumer-level ban in place. This chart can be interpreted as respondents who live in locations with a consumer-level plastic ban make less of an effort to limit their plastic consumption. This could be due to the perception that the public policies limit plastic consumption for them, so they feel less inclined to make a continued effort to limit their plastic consumption. Furthermore, since those who do not and are unsure of their location having current consumer-level plastic bans in place reported making more of an effort to limit their plastic consumption, public policymakers should take this report into account when considering implementing policies that limit or ban the use of consumer-level plastics. In our next analysis, we investigated our research question to see if a person who lived in a place with a consumer-level plastic ban implemented was more likely to perceive themselves as environmentally conscious. In the survey, we asked a series of 3 questions relating to their specific beliefs about the environment. Each answer choice was based on a Likert scale, 5 being coded as agree, 1 as disagree, representing ordinal data. The average of each Likert scale question is represented in each of the 3 bars among those who live in a place with a plastic ban, those who do not, and those who do not know or are unaware. All of the averages of the environmental self-perception scores exceeded a score of 4, with 5 being the highest score a respondent could get. These results led us to the conclusion that whether or not someone resides in a place with the consumer-level plastic ban, the average self-perception score of each question are relatively high and similar. Each colored group's average score ranged from about 4 to 4.5, meaning that the average of the sample generally agreed to each statement presented. From this analysis, it does not seem that there is an effect on environmental self-perceptions based on whether or not a consumer-level plastic ban is in place. We also decided to investigate whether or not there is a correlation between people's environmental self-perceptions and their self-reported environmental behavior. We then compared this across whether the respondent lived in a place with a consumer-level plastic ban, without a consumer-level plastic ban, or the respondent did not know if a consumer-level plastic ban was in place where they live. As can be seen in the table, the mean of the perception score does not vary greatly among respondents, ranging from 4.22 to 4.48 out of a score of 5. The higher the perception score, the more environmentally friendly respondents perceived themselves to be. The mean of the environmentally friendly acts was a little lower across the board, with values ranging from 3.15 to 3.53 out of a score of 7. The strongest positive correlation was between the average environmental perception score and the sum of environmentally friendly acts of respondents who lived in a place with a consumer-level plastic ban, although this is still considered a small to medium correlation with a value of 0.36. Respondents who did not live in a place with a consumer-level plastic ban had less of a correlation between the perception and environmental acts variables, with a value of 0.283. Both of these values are statistically significant at the 0.01 level. These results can be interpreted to mean that there is a positive linear relationship between people's environmental perceptions and environmental behaviors in places with and without consumer-level plastic bans. The correlation is stronger in places where there is a consumer-level plastic ban in effect, meaning that people who live in areas with a consumer-level plastic ban are more likely to behave environmentally friendly if they also perceive themselves as environmentally conscious. These results also show us that people who live in a place without a consumer-level plastic ban, on average, perceive themselves to be more environmentally conscious than those who live in a place with a consumer-level plastic ban. Yet the average of the self-reported environmental activity score is lower for the no-ban places than the places with a ban. This tells us that although people who live in places without a consumer-level plastic ban perceive themselves to be more environmentally friendly, their actions don't match up.
As in any other survey-based research, there are definitely limitations. One that we struggled with was getting a big enough sample size to answer our survey. Because we used convenience sampling, we did not reach our goal of nearly double our final sample size. Collecting more data would have enabled us to gain a more diverse insight to the population's environmental perceptions. With this final sample size, there was also the possibility of a respondent answering with bias. Some people may have tried to figure out what our survey was about and tailor the answers to what they think we wanted. This scenario would not uncover one's true environmental self-perception. Another limitation was the lack of secondary research when we conducted our study. Since we did not have a lot of background information about consumers' environmental self-perceptions, it was difficult to create precise survey questions that would give us the type of data we needed. While we were conducting analysis of our final sample, we began to wonder if a person's political party would have an effect on their environmental self-perception. If we had asked more demographic questions, we may have been able to uncover more information about our sample. As a whole, our research has given us insight as to how environmentally conscious people perceive themselves to be. Although we did not find significant evidence between someone's residency and how environmentally conscious they perceive themselves to be, we did create an extensive baseline of information to conduct even more research on. We have come up with a few recommendations based on our findings. One recommendation is to increase the sample size for the next conducted research study. Because we only reached about half of our goal of respondents, increasing the sample size would allow for a better representation of data. Due to this baseline of research, we believe it would be interesting to create a new survey to uncover an individual's perception of what types of activities they perceive to be environmentally friendly, along with various other topics. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We hope that our conducted research will be beneficial for future use for public policymakers and other market researchers.